pitching on Dory?
Yeah. It's look, Blundstone's always been a home away from home, and we get phenomenal vocal, enthusiastic support down here. Just players love coming down here, and the conditions are often quite unique. And GWS beat us pretty comprehensively round 3 last year down here, so it was good to be able to turn the tables today. And it probably started out in not too dissimilar a fashion with the wind and playing havoc a little bit early, but the really pleasing thing from our perspective is that the wind completely stopped at half time and wasn't a factor in the second half. And when potentially we had an advantage in the third quarter with the wind dropped off, but we were still able to dominate that third quarter and play what I thought was a really good last quarter as well.
It all just around the clearances and the ruck work of Todd and centre clearance and hard ball gets in the third quarter.
Yeah, and to be honest, I thought we were beaten in the first half in the midfield. I thought the combination of their midfield, which is still, I know they might be missing one or two, but they're extremely strong through there, and they've got a number of guys. And the reality is, if other players came into their midfield, they'd have to push some pretty good players into other positions. So they're very, very strong through there. I thought they were on top of us in the first half, and our guys responded really well and just got on top around the ball in the third quarter.
What was your message at half time?
The midfield was being beaten and we needed to respond. We made some very slight structural changes around stoppages as well, but I mean, all the changes you make behind the ball, ahead of the ball, even around the perimeter of the stoppage, doesn't matter if you're getting beaten in close. And that happened in the first half and we turned it around in the second.
Ben Jacobs did the job last week. You run us through his role today and a couple of different players. You mostly Ward, but a bit of Tom and Shield. Yeah,
we can't get too caught up on just the individual. I mean, we do at times. He'll play on a particular player for the majority of the game, but we can't control where they go. What we've worked really hard on is making sure that we've got balance through our midfield, and that's part of the reason Zeeble is spending more time forward. But I still see Jack as an inside midfielder, but he's just a very good forward as well. So we just adjust his role based on how the game's going. And Shield's a quality player, Ward's a quality player. So when you play sides like the Giants, there's no shortage of good players for Ben to play on.
Sorry, I was going to say Jimmy Anderson continues to improve. Is that Jimmy the luxury of playing Jack more forward when he's picking up the slack close there? Yeah,
it's helping. But I mean, the Jed's, I've said before this year that there's no secret to it. He worked extremely hard in the pre-season. He got himself as fit as he's ever been. Took himself off to Utah to train with our young guys when he didn't have to do that. But he's determined to get himself really fit so he can play this role for us, and it's paying dividends right now. But there's also, Jai Simpkin was pretty important at stages today as well. So we're still trying to build that midfield, and those boys are travelling pretty well at the moment, but we think there's a lot of upside in them too.
When the Giants kicked 4 on the trot in that second term, was there a temptation to put Zeeble into the midfield?
Yeah, it was. We were probably a bit more concerned about the ease of scoring in that second quarter, and then the wind was, a real factor. It was like it was for us in the first quarter. And that's the flexibility we've got now to be able to make those choices. So that was one thing we talked about. Didn't end up doing it, but we've got a lot more flexibility now than we've ever had.
He had a long list of injuries last year. Is he carrying anything at all, Jack?
No, he's a really effective forward. I mean, that's why we're I think that we like him there. We like the competitiveness of our forward line when he's there. But at a moment's hesitation, we could just bring him into the midfield, and we've done that this year plenty of times.
Benny Brown had 3 touches in the first half and comes in and kicks 5 in the third. I suppose. Did you need to speak to him at the break, or was he sort of still upbeat enough?
No, we can't take any credit for that. That's Ben Brown. He really. I don't think there's ways that you can keep him from influencing a game for long. So he just needed to look at his positioning, and we also needed to look at our delivery, because the lot of a key forward is you can, Mason Wood's role today. He ended up kicking 2, Mason, but he didn't play forward for very long. So there's a lot of factors that go into it. And Brownie's just such a unique player that I don't think he's going to be kept out of games for too long. And if he is, others will bob up.
There's 2 late misses last week for Ben, and he nailed every shot in the third term today.
Yeah.
Was it something you spoke about during the week to keep him upbeat, or is it like the game was on the line last week and he didn't deliver as well as he would have liked?
Yeah, but he's pretty accurate. So, I mean, when you look at his body of work, I think it's unfair on him to say that he missed because it wasn't, the pressure didn't get to him. He just missed, I think you can see when pressure gets to players when they don't follow their routine, things change. Ben went through his normal routine, he just missed. And, but he's more accurate than most. And he did. Jack and Ben did a hell of a lot of work during the week. We're big believers in getting huge repetition in what is such a closed skill as goal kicking. I mean, no one can pressure you. There's a man on the mark. You've got 30 seconds. It's can you follow your routine under pressure? So to do that, you've got to get volume of work, and we certainly give our guys enough time to get that volume of work with their set shot routine.
And Wade going back in the last term to give you a bit of beef up the defence there must have been pretty important.
Yeah, it is. He probably took that role from Drew Preacher, who'd done that really well for us years ago. But that was just a decision we made to, the stage of the game. Once we got out to 5 or 6 goals in front, they need to kick 7 to win. So, it can be a risk because the risk is that they just attack you for the last 15 minutes. But Wadey, we've got plans for that, and we pulled the trigger, and Wadey and the defenders executed it pretty well.
Do you go to the CEO's office this week and ask for more games down in Hobart?
Well, I mean, we're very happy playing here, but fortunately, I don't have to make those decisions. I'm the Minister for Expenditure. I just spend the money they give me.
In terms of the victory itself, where you feel as though you guys are sitting right now in the season and comfortable where you are, obviously there's plenty of room to continue to improve. Yeah,
I think the competition will ebb and flow for the next period of time as it does, and as GWS get players back, they'll be strengthened, and other teams will lose players, and it's I don't get caught up in predictions. All I can control is what we're doing, and we do have good availability at the moment. It's a real credit to our medical and sports science team that they're enabling the coaches to pick pretty close to our best side. Our VFL team had a good win today as well, so we know that there's a lot of hard work that goes into that, but there's also an element of luck. So we won't be getting ahead of ourselves anytime soon.
You spoke about the win last year the Giants had over you here. Is this a game that you really take belief out of?
I think probably no more than other wins this year. I think they're a really good side, and you look at their starting midfield and the guys that can rotate through there, and obviously Phil Davis was a big loss, and Brown and Waite were very influential today, but they've still got some elite defenders in my view down there. Jeremy Cameron's an elite player, so any time you can beat a team with that sort of personnel, you're pretty happy.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks.